So here is what I did week 9 in community. So as you can see here, week 9, they prepared ahead of time by reading and highlighting pages 44 through 50. The concepts covered on those pages were the Declension of Pars, so it was about recognizing what I stem means, and then just some more nouns, and they had to recognize if they followed Lēx or Pars. And then that was pretty much it. So what I did was I started with the vocabulary from both pages 44 and 46 printed on the whiteboard before the kids came into class. And what I did was I walked through step by step. We made some observations. Now I took a few pictures as I created this piece of paper so that you could see the different steps. But again, none of this scribble scrabble was on top of any of this. It was just the black words. So step 1, first and foremost, is we identified the third declension. So they recognize by now, they're pretty familiar. They know the rule is to look at the genitive singular ending, which for third declension is is, and we went through and I underlined all of those in the red pen, as you can see, all the way down. And we realized that all of the nouns on these 2 pages were third declension, and then we happen to have a verb here. So once we identified those, then we went to our little blue book and we read rules 60 and 61. And I tried to have them see if they could tell me what that meant. And we all were like, this is really crazy. Now we have to count syllables. So I know the rules are crazy. Don't worry. We'll just memorize them and be fine. So anyway, rule 60, basically what rule 60 is asking us to do is identify if the 2 nouns, meaning the nominative singular and the genitive singular, if they have the same number of syllables. If they have the same number of syllables, they are going to follow the model noun pars, which is rule 58, and we call it I stem. So we came over here and we looked at our 2 declensions or the 2 groupings of third declension that we've learned so far, and that would be rule 57 and rule 58. The only difference between these 2 is the genitive plural here and here. And because we have an I in this one, we're going to call this one I stem. Notice I have it written right there. So this is our I stem. So we said, well, let's walk through all of the nouns and see which ones follow this. So it was kind of funny. We talked about how did you learn how to count syllables when you were a kid, and some kids clapped their hands, others snapped their fingers, some of them put their hands under their jaw and felt their jaw move up and down when they said the word. So we started here and we like pars, partis. Nope. Collis, collis. Yep. So if we identified that they had the same number of syllables, I used an orange pen over here, and so I marked it with an orange asterisk here. Hostess, hostess. Yep. Gens, gentis. Nope. And we went all the way through our nouns. We did, at this time, I did not get into the fact that this is going to be an exception, but I went ahead, frater, fratris. Yep, 2 syllables. We did go ahead and mark it with the orange asterisk to begin with. And we walked all the way through the nouns looking for, do they have the same number of syllables? Once we identified the ones that did, which are the ones with the orange stars, we moved on to rule 61. Rule 61 in the book says that the stem ends in 2 consonants, then you're going to follow pars. So we had a little refresher. How do we find the stem? We went through all of our nouns and we underlined the stem, the ones that we had not already marked with our orange asterisk here. But anyway, so we underline the stem. The stem is found in the genitive singular when you take off the ending. So if we notice that the last 2 letters were consonants, then we were like, yep, sure enough, it follows rule 61. So because I wrote rule 61 in purple, we put a purple asterisk here. All right, we had already done those 2. Gens, gentis. We found the stem, and sure enough, 2 consonants. So anyway, we worked our way down. I think we found a couple more down here, Montes. And then we found the stem for clamorous, and we were like, well, no, it doesn't follow rule 60 or 61, so it must not be I stem. Anyway, but we went ahead and marked that there. Then, that is when I asked them about this. I said, okay, so do you guys notice anything weird about any of these nouns and how they're set up? Normally a noun, they give us, you know, nominative, singular, and genitive, singular. And of course, lo and behold, we have these in parentheses. And I was like, you guys remember how if there's an exception to the rule for gender, they'll put a little letter here. So what do you think they're trying to tell us here? So they were originally starred in orange, and orange means, we reviewed up here, that it had the same number of syllables, so it must follow rule 60, which means it must be I stem. But they're telling us in the vocabulary, nope, see, look, no I. They're telling you these words do not follow the pattern. They are exceptions to the rule. You will just have to memorize that they are not I stem. So we took our green marker, which is going to identify just our regular third declension nouns, and we crossed out the orange star, and I wrote over here, these are an exception, they are not I stem, they will follow rule 57, which is your standard third declension endings. We will not put the I in our genitive plural. All right, so once we did that, we realized that we still had a couple of nouns that did not follow either rule 60 or 61, and that were these two down here. So these just must be regular rule 57, follow Lēx, Lēgus pattern. So anyway, that's how I had that marked there. So then the next step, once we identify, so let me back up. First, we identify that these are third declension by looking at the IS. Then we go through using these two rules. We identify if they are going to follow pars. Are they I stem? If they're not I stem, then they're going to follow Lēx, which is rule 57. So once we've done all of that, now we have to go through, because third declension is crazy, we have to go through and figure out the gender. So basically it's broken down like this. First and foremost, if you're in third declension, first you go to the meaning. So you really have to know the meaning of the words, because if the noun is referring to a man person or a woman person, it's automatically masculine or feminine. So we went through and we have all of the meanings right here. I did those in this light purple color. And if it's a person, we found all the ones that referred to people, like this one right here. Enemy, those were the soldiers, the men. In the war, they were enemies, and so those were men, and so we automatically, that makes it a masculine. We also went ahead and marked this one, even though it means hill, in the vocabulary, they put an ilm there. That means it's automatically masculine. You just have to memorize it. And we found, let's see, where else did we have a people? We had brother, father, and mother. Man person, woman person. So that makes them automatically, and I don't know why, drawing all over the place, for whatever reason, I had marked masculine and feminine on this side. Anyway, so masculine, and feminine. And then I think we had one more person, and that was a chief or leading man, which was obviously referring to a man, and so that would be masculine. Now, once we've identified all of the meanings that refer to people, we go to the ones that the meaning doesn't really matter. This is where we look at our various, meaning nominative singular endings, and we identify if they end in SOX, they're feminine, ER or OR, they're masculine, and then LANCET is neuter, which we haven't actually gotten to any of these yet. So we walked through each of those, and as you can see, we found S, so for the SOX rule, feminine, and then so on. And at this point, I am calling on particular kids, making sure that everybody is having an opportunity to go, and I'm asking them, okay, if it ends in an S, which rule is it? And I'm making them tell me that's the SOX rule, or the error rule, or the Well, we don't have any Lancettes. So anyway, we reviewed that way. Is it a man person? Masculine. Is it sex role? Feminine, and so on. So we walked through all of our nouns and we identified whether or not they were masculine or feminine. I think at that point, that's a lot of information. And so that took a good bit of time, and they have to be able to go through that process on their own. And so I think we came to exercise 44 and did a couple of these. When I post my picture of the whiteboard, you'll see that we did a couple of those together to practice to see if we knew what was going on. And then we came to this note on reading Latin. I wanted to spend time on this in class, and we just took turns. Everybody read a couple of sentences until everybody had a turn to read it. We talked about it. We asked questions about it. What do you think they mean? And we practiced doing it with this. Now, this is really hard, and I told them that. And it's just something that you're gonna see if you can make happen. So anyway, it's just some good tips on how to study Latin. So that was our week 9. Have a great week.